Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar organized by TechnologyCatalogue.com. Today's webinar is organized jointly with Colin Black of Cardian Energy. More about Colin in a minute. I'll first briefly introduce myself. My name is Erik Nijveld. I'm managing partner and co-founder of TechnologyCatalogue.com. We started this company about 2 years ago, supporting the industry with getting technology deployed. Before that, I spent quite a bit of time in Shell, about 20 years, and essentially all roles related to technology deployment. And a number of things that we're doing today built on that expertise, and more on that in a minute. Let me first pass on to Colin to introduce himself. Over to you, Colin.
Yeah, thanks, Erik, and good morning, everyone. A little bit about my background: 37 years, always been in technology deployment. Never worked with an operator, always been with a technology company. And not only deploying technology, but volunteering, supporting the SPE, Site Petroleum Engineers, the Energy Institute, and helping to organise numerous conferences around the world. So today, we're just going to have an overview of some of my experiences, and these are only my experiences, just to share with everyone. And when we talk about technology, it's very much from a supplier's point of view, highly innovative solutions, searching the world for problems. And from the operator's point of view, they have a number of challenges, and they're looking for solutions. But when you listen to the operator feedback, they often find solutions of problems that they don't have, or they didn't know they had until they met the supplier. So this methodology is very much based around, from a technology provider's point of view, is what are our products, what are the features, what are the benefits, how are we going to deliver this technology. But when I start working along with our technology company, my first question is why? Why are the products required? What was the problem that you're solving? And often that's not known because a lot of the tender process already defines what the solution should be or the type of solution. And the technology provider assumes, well, this must be similar to a project I did before. And of course, if we assume, it makes an ass out of you and me, and that's always a key issue, especially when we come to delivering the project. And then the when, of course, there's always a bit of a hurry up. The customer wants it yesterday. Can you deliver it? How can you deliver it? And how best can this be deployed? And then when we come to the end, was the customer happy? And the feedback was yes. Well, they paid. Well, did they pay on time? And that's a whole different dialogue. And then if they're dissatisfied, you can have the invoice can be disputed. And then the feedback can come back through the FPAL, the first point assessment, from a 1 dissatisfied to 10 delighted. And then the whole process starts again from a technology point of view, trying to get a face-to-face meeting, networking, conferences, exhibitions. But now in a COVID-19 environment, that's very difficult to do. So that's where we are, and a lot of companies still are from that side of things. So I'll just share with you a methodology that I've used over the years and continue to support numerous companies with. So effective technology deployment and replication. And I think the key thing to think about from that point of view is management guru Peter Drucker said, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. I've got a great example of a very efficient way of cleaning a separator, pre-inspection, a great way of doing the inspection, saved a lot of time. And then I found another technology that can remove all the scales so you don't have to do the inspection in the first place. So it's very much a case of focusing on the effectiveness of the technology. Collaboration, well, it's defined by, let's use Wikipedia. Collaboration is a process of two or more people or organizations working together to complete a task or achieve a goal. So what exactly is the key objectives here? And I think one of the things, if we look at other sports, and I think if you can see behind me, we have Ayrton Senna, so I very much like Formula One. And from Formula One, we learn that they are very much about a shared vision, focused objectives. You have an example of changing four wheels tires within 2.5 seconds. Clear roles and responsibilities. We all have seen when something goes wrong, when somebody doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. Team working. And then look at that, just that picture of that racing car there. We've got the teamwork, but also the supply chain, and the supply chain being critical to every part of the success. And Formula One, effective use of technology. That's a red car in there. Your thoughts might go to Ferrari, but at the weekend there, they are really struggling to be competitive. So then it's a case of what is the technology, how effectively are you using it, and then replication. So we take that into an oil and gas environment, and now moving towards energy environment. The shared vision, the focused objectives, we're very fortunate here in the UK that we have the Oil and Gas Authority, and they are two key areas of focus. And should I always say that, safety is of course paramount. Everything we do, we work in a major hazard environment, so safety is a given. MER UK is maximising economic recovery, so it allows us to focus on what we're trying to achieve and how we're working together on that. And then net zero is looking at our carbon and CO2 emissions and reducing our emissions. And then Oil and Gas UK Roadmap 2035 talks about energy transition. So we've got the focus. So if we turn this around, instead of talking about what you provide, talk about why do they need it? Why does the operator have this challenge? A clear understanding of their safety, OPEX, CAPEX, and net zero challenges. Why do they have that problem in the first place, and what are the desired results? How can you measure your success? Why would they require our products, and why would they select our company? And that needs to cascade through everything that you're within the company, through the people and how you approach. And for me, this is the front end loading where the time should be spent at this point. Then we look at the how. How does the operator want the solution delivered, which is not perhaps your standard way of delivering. It may be a different contract, it may be in a different way. And how can you demonstrate that you've actually got track record of delivering that value? And then, only then do we get to what products and services, features and benefits can we provide? But once you know the why and the how, then it's so much easier to articulate your USPs and your value proposition. And then when we look at the value added, once we've delivered it on time and on budget, what were the key lessons that we learned? So meet with the client and discuss that. What were the key deliverables? Can we share as a case study? And now with OGA and asset stewardship, it's one of the things that it's required is to share examples. And Erik will discuss later on about the UK Energy Technology Platform, which is all about testimonials, track record, and building up that experience. And then once you've got that, rather than start again and go over, it's a case of looking at the collaboration across the industry and saying, well, who else has got this problem? And to be honest, it's pretty clear what some of these issues are. The Oil and Gas Authority issues some reports. Oil and Gas UK are very supportive of that. And then the SPE, ICOTA, Energy Institute type of events very clearly articulate what the challenges are. And so when you've got a solution, then the next stage is just to replicate this over and over. Erik, can you just carry on with your side of things from an operator's perspective?
Absolutely, and Colin. And what you see here on this slide, and you may have seen it in one of the previous webinars as well, is a curve, an uptake curve that we realized when I was leading technology deployment activities in Shell. And yeah, people often say technology deployment is challenging, and it certainly is, but it can be done, and this curve demonstrates it. And since leaving Shell in the past 2 years, since starting TechnologyCatalogue.com, we supported tens of different companies with getting technology deployment going. So what I'm going to share in the next couple of slides are a couple of tips for operators as well as suppliers, what you can do, also building what Colin just shared. And of course, there's far more behind it, but certainly by following these tips, you can make a good start. So the first thing I would say, starting with the operators, is that it's very important to have someone in your company who is responsible for driving technology deployment. And yeah, many people say, or many companies say, indeed, rightly so, technology deployment is important to get the full benefit from technology. But also, interestingly enough, there are actually very few companies where you really have someone who is overall responsible for driving the uptake within the company. Typical roles related to technology innovation stop the moment a technology is mature, and then people often say it's now up to the business to pick it up. But if you don't have someone who gets the technology deployed and replicated and gets it across the chasm, then there's a large risk that nothing happens and that people continue focusing on what they've always done. So this is really the first tip, and for all the tips, happy to discuss that further offline. And by the way, if you do have any questions for Colin or myself, there's a chat box on the right, and you can type in any questions you have, and we're going to discuss them at the end of this webinar. So the second tip for an operator, certainly if you want to get started, is replicate what has worked for others. There's very often a tendency to believe that challenges that assets face are unique, and yeah, it hardly ever is. Whenever you're operating somewhere in the North Sea, then the challenges that you have are in most cases not really different from the challenges that other operators in the North Sea have. Or when you're operating in one part of the Middle East, again, it's fairly similar to the challenges that others have there, or in analog assets elsewhere around the globe. So learn what has worked from others. And for that reason, as part of TechnologyCatalogue.com, we include reviews and references, so you have the opportunity to replicate what has worked for others. All on the basis that if multiple experts in the industry that say that something is a good idea, then very likely it is a good idea. And if multiple companies have used the technology, well, then it's definitely worth something having a look at yourself as well. And if you're working on a novel technology, you may say, yeah, for me that's different because I don't have any references yet. But you can still benefit from the proven technologies. My own experience has always been that asset managers are reasonable people, provided you first make money with proven technologies, and then they're prepared to listen to something new. And all this, what I just said, it's the same the way we take major decisions in our own life. My favorite example is always the plumber. Whenever you move somewhere, you need a plumber. What do? And a thumbs up from your neighbor is sufficient to say, that's the one I'm going to pick for the job. But even big decisions in life, like where to buy a house. If you're the first one to buy a house in a certain part of town where you just moved to, and you already know that 5 or 10 of your friends already live there, yeah, then you do far less research than if you're the first to move somewhere. And it's indeed amazing how much money we're prepared to spend just based on these type of references and reviews. And again, for technology, it works exactly the same. If an asset manager sees that others operating similar assets have used it, that's a good way to then influence the system. So also when you're responsible for driving technology within a company, show those reviews and references to whoever needs to take the decision. And indeed use that as an argument for people to say, hey, this is also something that we need to look into. So that was the second tip. And the third tip, and yeah, it's, let's say it this way, senior management, indeed, they very often say, in most cases, say technology innovation is important, it's critical for the future of the company. But at the same time, my own experience has always been that these people, they need to be convinced themselves as well. And as they're a bit further away from where the action is, they may not see the tangible examples. And they actually often don't realize how much money there is to be gained with technology. And also in today's world, where the oil price is low. And actually showing again the curve on the left-hand side, actually particularly during the previous downturn around 2016, we got a lot of deployment going at the time. Different type of technology than that would get going when the oil price was $80 a barrel. But there's a lot of room for getting technology done. And by showing the examples, linking it back to the previous tip, showing the decision makers, senior management, the examples, and showing who has done it, who's gone before them, it also gives them the confidence that this can be replicated in their company. And technology is definitely not something that's only long-term or difficult or risky. No, there are many things that can be done today and that can make money right away. So those are 3 tips for operators. Let me also just share 3 tips for suppliers. And actually, we also just wrote a blog about it that can be found on the website, TechnologyCatalogue.com. So 3 tips for suppliers. The first one, also building on the slides that Colin presented, is it when you're a supplier and you give a pitch about technology, is it really clear what business needs your technology addresses? And linked to that, is it really clear to you whom within the company you need to approach? Not only the decision maker, but also the movers and shakers around the decision maker. And the reason why I raise these questions is whenever we run the tech positioning program, based on the hundreds of deployments we've been involved in over the years, we spent quite a bit of time around those questions, and actually many times, actually more than half of the cases, the decision maker and also the movers and shakers around the decision maker are actually different from the ones that the supplier thinks that they are. And by helping and holding up the mirror and giving suggestions on how the technology can be positioned, it can become more clear. So that's the first tip. The second one, and using the same slide as previously, but this time from supplier perspective, once you have identified the decision maker and the people around the decision maker, it's also a good practice to then use reviews and references to influence the person, linking it back to what I just said earlier. They're so powerful, so use them to your advantage. As a supplier, you can say whatever you like, you can give a great pitch, but if a couple of independent experts confirm that story, particularly if the decision maker recognizes those names, that is incredibly powerful. And that, by the way, is the difference between some platforms we use in our consumer life. Reviews are never made anonymously, always my name. So you can look up the people, the person. Actually, the review you see on the screen here, perhaps difficult to read. It's from Dave Masson, a very well-known name in the industry. And someone like Dave, he's not going to put his credibility on the line by saying something positive if he wouldn't mean it. And it's very powerful. And the same way for the references. And actually, we do the same way ourselves. So this was a nice post just made by Jacco, Chief Innovation at OMV Petrom, highlighting some of the service we've given to him. And yeah, LinkedIn, it's a great way to spread the word about what you do. So use that to your advantage yourself as well as a supplier. The moment you have a review from an independent expert, post it. If you struggle to find out who can give such a review, we can help you there. But also webinars like this one, it's a great way to reach out to folks, particularly in today's world. So those are a couple of tips, and also the reason why Colin and I are giving this webinar together. And let me briefly introduce it and then hand back to you, Colin. Is as TechnologyCatalogue.com, we have a global platform linking suppliers to end users and also to consultants. But in addition to the global platform, we're also launching local platforms or country platforms where we link the digital platform to local stakeholders, the local community. And whatever is shown on such a country platform, it's a subset of what's on the global platform, being all technologies that are of relevance to that country, and mapping the technologies against the relevant priority areas of the countries. This way, making the distance between suppliers, consultants, and end users as short as possible. So with that brief introduction, let me hand over to you, back to you, Colin, to take us to the next slides.
Thank you, Erik. It's refreshing to listen to an operator talking about technology deployment, and that's why you and I work so well together. And the key driver here, we talked about focus, and I mentioned earlier, in the UK, we're very fortunate that we have the Oil and Gas Authority helping us remain focused on the maximising economic recovery, net zero, reducing our emissions. But what we're finding is that we have not only the securing the supply of hydrocarbons today, but we have the energy transition as we transition through to a low carbon economy. So that involves a number of different technologies, and where we used to have oil and gas on one side, perhaps, and renewable offshore wind in another, the whole lines get blurred when we talk about a low carbon economy and we talk about energy transition, because the offshore platform will be electrified and potentially fed from an offshore wind turbine. We'll then look at capturing the carbon, sending down a pipeline, storing it, and reusing it. So the lines get completely blurred, and how do you find that technology? Where is it? And how do you look at track record? Carbon capture storage has been used in Australia for many years. What technologies are there? So this technology platform pulls it all together, using very much the same methodology as Erik explained earlier, TripAdvisor for technology, shall we say. And it's linking the suppliers who've got the technology. It can be proven technology, but maybe used in different applications, so it's still new, or certainly new to that particular operator, to that region. It can be emerging technology, and it can be early TRL technology, which may actually be working along with the likes of, in the UK here, the Oil and Gas Technology Centre, and we can shine a spotlight on that technology as it emerges through past the field trials. For the end users, they can find out not only what else is being used within their own organisation across different assets, but they can see what's being used in the basin, and they can also look to see where its technology has been deployed across the world in different locations. But finding the supplier, from a supplier's point of view, finding the problem, and from the operator's perspective, finding the solution, often needs some expertise of pulling the two things together. And we also have got these expert consultants who've got expertise or subject matter experts in particular domains. So the platform will pull all of these things together into one place. But the building block for the UK platform has already a very firm footing. We've over 260 technologies already on the global technology catalogue. A subset of them will be UK, and the UK technologies are growing rapidly. As far as users to the overall global platform, there's 26,000 already. And the UK is certainly growing rapidly from that side of things. Last month, there was over 3,000 users on the Technology Catalogue site, and a large proportion of them coming from the UK already. And then we've talked about how to spread the word. We can support with technology workshops and webinars from that side of things. But we can also work along with the operator to show how the technology can be embedded within their organization and replicated. But from a supplier point of view, we can also get the most from that, and we can work through with them from that side of things. Fundamentally, the stage of the platform, you can go online. If you're a technology provider, you can go online today. It's free to upload. You upload your technology, and then we'd encourage you to start adding some track record, some testimonials in the back of there. The formal launch will be in the 1st of September. So this is a preamble and a bit of a taster to the depth behind Erik and his team there, and some of Carjon experience, some of my own experiences in there. And that's where we wanted to get to today. Erik, you have some questions have come in there. You got some questions for us?
So one question is already here, and if anyone has any other questions or comments, please type them up in the chat box. For information, there will be another webinar on the 1st of September, the day this UK Energy Technology Platform will be launched. So more news on that via our LinkedIn channel and newsletter. So one question, Colin, will the UK platform focus on novel innovations, proven technologies, or would it be both?
Well, it's very much both. One of the key things is in the UK, we're very fortunate that we have the Oil and Gas Technology Centre, who have got numerous innovative technology projects we're working on today. So we'll be working closely with the technologies there, and as I say, it's free to upload. So we encourage technology companies working with OGTC and emerging to upload. But the other side of things is there's some absolutely fantastic technologies out there that are really delivering across the world, and are well proven. And maybe I'm not that new. Maybe you've been around for 5, 10, 15 years, but it's maybe just not been used in a certain way, or things have changed. So yes, it's very much about looking across the whole spectrum. And if there's a value proposition in there, I'd encourage anyone to upload that technology.
Yeah, thank you for that. And perhaps building what you just mentioned, it's indeed also very much my experience over the years that sometimes a lot of money can be made, and very often actually, with technologies that have been around for a long time, but only used in one part of the world and not in another, or even within your own country, used by some companies and perhaps not yet by you.
Sorry, Erik, I just noticed another one there. So it's quite a good question from that side of things, and it's about replication and what do you think the barriers to replication? Because it seems pretty straightforward thing to do, that you would deploy a technology, you get great results, and then it would be used all throughout an international basis with an operator. But from an operator's perspective, why is there some challenges in replication?
Yeah, it's and part of it is linked to the 3 tips that I shared. People sometimes think that replication happens automatically. If it's so good, the business will pick it up. No, you need some people to drive it. Although something has been proven in one part of the world, it still requires time and effort to get it introduced in your business. So it's a dedicated effort. But also, and that's really triggered the launch of the platform. Yeah, people often say about our industry that it's conservative or a bit risk averse. And yeah, there may well be some truth in it, like you see in other capital intensive industries as well. But at the same time, people often don't know what's all out there and who has used what. And by making that visible, you haven't solved the entire issue, but certainly part of it. Hey, I do see a couple of questions coming in the chat box. One question, and that's something you can answer, Colin. How open are operators at sharing the challenges and issues? Or perhaps I can give a go at it and pass on to you, Colin. When it comes to, say, very secretive things or things that are really unique to that operator, yeah, people may be a bit reluctant to share. But the starting point that we often apply is to make it visible to operators that the challenges are not so unique. So that's one way. But also something we can still do is to get the challenges in a sort of confidential way and still link it to them, but without revealing the name of the customer. That way, still creating an overview of challenges without necessarily mentioning explicitly on the website, operator X has these challenges, operator Y has these challenges. So by doing that, our experience is that operators are fairly open with sharing these things. Would you like to build on that, Colin?
Yes, I guess my experience might be a little bit unique because I'm a volunteer in SPE and EI and ICODA conferences. So the operators openly to tell us what the challenges are. In fact, we frame the whole conference around the challenge that they've got. We have operators on all of our committees. In fact, we have the regulator, OGA, on a number of our committees, as well as the HSE. So it's relatively straightforward. Any of the conferences we put forward are really, and I guess you're right, Erik, from a neutral point of view, we're not saying this is operator A or B to have this issue. We're actually saying these are the challenges there. And then you come along to the conference, you hear the papers, and you understand who exactly has that issue. And also, we're very fortunate with the OGA are in the public domain. For example, if we take wells and wells that are shut in, as the Wells Insight report clearly states, water shut off, integrity, scale issues. So it's out there in the public domain, and it's something that we can help from a neutral point of view signpost. So good question.
Yeah. Hey, there's one other question. In your experience, what are the operators' biggest drivers to utilize new technology in your experience? Would you like to go with that one? Is it lower cost, maximizing recovery, increased production, etc.?
Yeah, well, so all of the above, and of course we're in a triple whammy here with the lower oil price. We've got the COVID-19 and we've got the energy transition. So these are all drivers. If I take COVID-19, as tragic as it is, and it has been for many families, and it still continues to be, it's been probably the biggest driver for digital uptake. The fact that you and I are talking just now, and this is now the norm, the fact that a number of the digital technologies for surveying offshore can be done remotely. So yeah, these are the drivers. Maximizing economic recovery. I'll use the profit word. A lot of companies are putting in the profit word, and they've got to do something different. And this is where we're looking at efficiency, but really effectiveness. So it's a big driver from that side of things. So it is a combination, and it does need to be worked through. But very much, if you use the tips that you've yourself, Erik, and some of the things I've said, and get your value proposition focused, that certainly helps.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I would like to end this webinar. So thank you all very much for attending. The recording will be made available later this week via our LinkedIn channel. And as said, there will be another webinar on the 1st of September, on the day that the UK Energy Technology Platform will be launched. And so looking forward to seeing many of you back in the audience in a few weeks' time. In the meantime, if you have any other questions about this platform or about TechnologyCatalogue.com in general, please reach out. So with that, wish you all a great day, and looking forward to talking soon again.
Yep, thank you.